Death Stranding, a game that is as polarizing as it is intriguing, a game so damn divisive it calls into question the very intelligence and sensibilities of whoever plays or doesn't play the game. And by intelligence, I don't mean this is a game only for stuck-up, bougie, Kojima, contrarian stans who look for any opportunity to attack people who have a different opinion. I mean intelligence in the sense of seeing that weird and experimental games like these are good for the growth and potential of gaming as a whole, even if it's not their cup of tea. After making one of the most critically acclaimed or infamous video game series ever in Metal Gear Solid and the thrown away masterpiece in PT, RIP my nigga, Hideo Kojima's first game after flying away from the burning shit nest that is Konami is an ambitious one. On his own merit, his own reputation, with his own production company, he risked it all to fulfill the vision of a game that most, if not any AAA game developer or publisher would dare throw out to the world, especially in the current gaming climate of live service, lazy slot machine, gambling, faux open world annual fuckery. This isn't some short indie project from an obscure developer with no pressure to live up to a larger than life reputation. This is coming from a legendary game dev dealing with incredible pressure, unrealistic expectations, and everything to lose. For as enigmatic, pretentious, or fake deep as this game seems, Kojima's been pretty upfront about it. From the first whispers of this game to the first trailer, it was damn apparent that this was not going to be a normal action experience we're used to seeing from Hideo. He talked about an open world game that was all about connecting the real and in-game world through its own player base. And after seeing the game in action, you truly get a sense of how literal he was taking that philosophy. Playing as the protagonist Sam Porter Bridges, well, actually just kind of Norman Reedus, the actor playing himself, the player is tasked to trek a lonely, brutal environment, delivering packages using a lot of basic gadgets and literally connecting a destroyed country from the East Coast all the way to the West. Okay, in essence, you're right. You are a delivery man, albeit a hyper stylized paranormal one. I get that. But if you really think about it, is that concept too far of a leap from most modern Western RPGs? You spend large portions of these games engaging NPCs and traveling from point A to point B to give this person something from that person with some kind of conflict or combat sprinkled in between in order to level your character. So why all the reluctance? All the disappointed knee-jerk reactions? All the lazy No Man's Sky comparisons? I myself believe it's got a lot to do with open world game fatigue, a resentment for big ambition games like this one fucking players over in the past, and a deviation from what Kojima fans envisioned his debut release after Konami should be. If you've ever played a Kojima game, you should be well prepared for a maze-like, detailed, convoluted story filled with over-the-top cinematic-inspired situations and characters. But it doesn't seem like the story is what the game is really being criticized for, does it? It's gameplay. I've heard this word so goddamn much in association with Death Stranding, or for many, the lack thereof. Gameplay, man. What about the gameplay? It's a video game, man, not a movie, man. It's just a walking simulator, man. Where is the gameplay? Looking back at the trailers and all the gameplay video segments Kojima released to the public, it was clear and upfront that Death Stranding was focusing the meta of its gameplay mechanics more on the act of moving itself. And you're right, that does in a lot of ways make it a walking simulator. You get limited access to vehicles to shorten your path, and besides the game's zipline mechanic, there is no fast traveling. The game is tedious, but nowhere near as shallow as that sounds, and in my opinion, it's in the most interesting way possible. Moving is challenging. You're a delivery man, and besides small segments of being able to use vehicles, you're dealing with intimidating geographic obstacles on foot. You're carrying the maximum amount of packages with different sizes and weights that affect player movement, but add more rewards for the risk. Sam can lose balance, packages can fall or get damaged. The traversal of the character itself is one of the biggest mechanics, making getting to destinations frustrating. But more than anything, fucking memorable. People are calling it the Dark Souls of traveling, which makes a lot of sense. Climbing that mountain valley or scaling down that mountain peak to get to your objective gives you a real sense of scale and accomplishment. There are few, if none, easy treks to your goals in this game. But despite the naysayers, there are traditional action elements in this game world, just with less mechanic depth, as it seems like Kojima is kind of purposely avoiding emphasis on engaging the game violently. Lack of consistent action doesn't mean the gameplay is passive. You have interactions with the game's paranormal enemies and BTs, which you can kill or avoid entirely, much like other open world games. You have altercations with thugs that chase you and steal your cargo, which you can again choose to avoid, incapacitate, or even kill with in-game weapons and ordnance. And there are classic Kojima-esque boss fights that are challenging spectacles. So is the real complaint about gameplay the lack of it? The amount of it? The execution of it? Nah, I think it's a taste and pace issue. The game starts slow and has beautiful but long cutscenes filled with that classic Kojima exposition, filled with artsy and stoic characters that can come off as cringy to some if the game hasn't already intrigued you to this point. But there's power in a slow burn if you've got the patience. Patience? Wait, I paid $60 to wait for the game to entertain me? That's a pretty valid and understandable argument. But I counter it with this. People can't seem to justify paying $60 for a full, complete game like this, albeit a weird one at launch, but will pay almost double for an unfinished, broken piece of shit title with the promise of more content in the future? These days in the industry, there are new games vying for your undivided attention every month with the promise of familiar gameplay and story elements that can superficially seem like more of a game. I totally get it. Risk $60 on a weird game with a weird story you ultimately play by yourself, or buy a game from developers you're used to with mechanics you can immediately grasp. An easy choice for most people. But if you're like me and bored and jaded with fly-by-night AAA titles that are recycled and unfulfilling and cash-grabbing and made only with the purpose of milking your pockets with IPs you've loved for years and have since become soulless, this game is a breath of fresh air. From the success of this game, how many gamers and AAA developers have been inspired to take risks and truly believe in a vision to take their audience to new spaces in a medium as influential as video games? This is the type of game you can't recommend or sell people on, so I'm not gonna do that. This is a game that you simply have to expose to people in order to spark that curiosity needed in order to open your wallet and pick up the controller. Try it. I just want to thank people for watching to the end. I know you're probably snoring by now, but I really appreciate it. It's just a new little series that I'm trying, Flaco's Thoughts. I'm going to be ranting on shit that I really love, movies, games. So if you got any suggestions or comments about the video, or maybe a rebuttal to what I've said, place it in the comments below. Make sure you like and fucking subscribe and ring that bell. I love you. League.